it's not so much about the question that you're asking or what you're saying. It's about truly listening to someone rather than just hearing what they're saying. Truly listen. Hello, and welcome back or welcome to Chairlift Chatss the Podcast. Today I am here doing a solo episode. My name is Chelsea Widdicombe. My brother, who I co-host the show with, he is away traveling for work. So this week it's just me. So I thought I'd change the setting a bit. So if you're watching, I'm in a new setup, but if you're just listening along, you're just going to be hearing my voice and not James's today. And today I want to talk about easy conversation starters, because having conversations is an everyday occurrence and some people can get a lot of anxiety about it. And I actually really understand that. Sometimes some people are easier to talk to than others. But before I get there, so I'm going to give you some really good strategies for conversations, whether you're at the shops, on a date, or making new friends, wherever you might be. These will be actionable steps that you can take. But to get started with this kind of idea, so again, if you're watching, you can see that I'm in a black shirt, and I am a very colourful person. I like to wear coloured clothes. I like coloured interiors, coloured cushions, things like that. And so I'm wearing black because I've been at my retail job today, and it's in a homeware store, and we wear the classic black, ladies in black. And I finished early today, which was nice. And so I went to Spotlight. Now, if you don't know Spotlight is a craft shop where they've got wool or your sewing materials, everything crafty, and they've got their big sale on at the moment. So I was like, great, I finished work early. I'll go to the craft shop, and I'm in the middle of a big crochet project. And if you've been listening to the podcast since the Olympics, you may already know that, because I was very inspired by the British Olympian Tom Daley, who is always knitting and has his own knitting line, actually with Spotlight as well. Anyway, I was in Spotlight in my black clothes after work, and I was just like strolling the aisles looking for some more yarn, some more wool for my project, because I'm almost finished, and as usual, I ran out of wool, which is much like in construction when you're doing tiling and you're almost done and you realize you need one more pallet or one more box of tiles. It's quite devastating. Anyway, so good excuse to go to the craft shop. And I'm there, I'm going up and down the aisles, just strolling around, looking around. And this guy comes up to me. And when I say guy, I mean like a old manish type, like a dad type. And he came up to me and started asking me all these questions. And I realized I'm in black clothes, and often people just assume straight away that when you're wearing black, you work there. And, part of conversation and talking to people is just about listening and then seeing what you can do to help. So instead of saying like, oh no, sorry, I don't work here, I just went along with it. And he was after this particular brand of wool that his wife had sent him to get. And he said, oh, I'm colorblind, so I can't even tell the difference between all of those. Anyway, he's like, you're a yarn expert, right? I'm like, oh, no, not really. And he was like, oh, well, you're probably better than me. Anyway, so I start walking around the shop with this old man, and I help him find his wool. I start getting his life story and why his wife sent him, and then anyway, he walks away, he got his wool, he was very thankful, and so I finished work to then go work at another job. But, it upped the multis for Spotlight for the day. But what I'm trying to say out of all this conversation is sometimes by saying yes in a conversation can lead to a positive outcome, because it was a nice sentence. Like, it wasn't anything major. Like, it wasn't as if I was like doing a sale or answering the phone, though I wouldn't put that past me in doing that sort of thing at someone else's workplace. But it's okay to ask for help. And I often think men walking into typically female spaces can feel quite intimidated. Like, a guy going to get perfume for his girlfriend or his wife or anything like that, or going to get makeup or anything. It can be really intimidating. And I think just that consciousness to be kind to everyone and treating everyone with value and not dumbing down anything. Like, this guy, he was really trying to get it right for his wife. And then it ended up sparking a conversation about family and everything like that. And so it was a conversation starter from asking for help. And it's a good reminder that it's okay to ask for help, whether it's buying wool in a shop or something bigger that's going on in your life. Reach out and know you're not in things alone. But now to the conversation starters. So a lot of people have ideas about how a conversation should go. And I agree, some conversations flow better than others. But we all need help sometimes. So I'm just going to give you some, just straight out, here are some ways to start a conversation. And my first one, this is probably something that people are like, no, that's a no-go. Don't do that. But I'm going to say the weather. Now, talking about the weather can be really boring, but it can also be a really good way to get insight into people and find out about them so that you can then keep the conversation flowing naturally. For example, instead of just going, oh, it's, something like, oh, what's the weather like today? Instead of just making it awkward, the way you could start it is, wow, it's really starting to feel like summer today, isn't it? And then the person that you're engaging in conversation with will either say, yeah, isn't it lovely? Or yeah, it's really hot. And then you might find out whether they are a summer person or a winter person. And then you've got further to go with conversation. And really, it's not so much about the question that you're asking or what you're saying. It's about truly listening to someone rather than just hearing what they're saying. Truly listen. Now, I went to a work event a couple of weeks ago, and it was like a networking event. And I truly think sometimes going to events, you feel like you need to talk to so many people and make all these connections. But sometimes by just being the listening ear to someone, just one person, you might get one good connection out of that instead of trying to get around and talking to everyone and not having meaningful conversations because you're just trying to talk to as many people as possible rather than truly listening to people and how they feel and how they feel about what the topic of conversation is with the people that you're around. So just start with something. Another thing is like Christmas is coming up and asking people, are you decorating for Christmas this year? Oh, yeah, you are. Okay, cool. Do you have a particular colour scheme that you follow? Oh, you do? What is it? What colour scheme is it? And go into that. And then you might find you have common interests as well. Or are you into sport? Sport's a great one, particularly for guys, because it's a great way to bond. And then, you can talk about pub chats and things like that. And so a simple conversation starter really is just that. I don't think you need to overthink it, really. A lot of people in my shop, I end up finding out their life stories because I'll just make a comment as they walk in the door. Oh, hi, how you going today? And they'll say, oh, isn't your Christmas stuff looking lovely? I'm like, yeah, I said, I just love this time of year because it really uplifts so many people and really makes them happy. And from there, people will say, yeah, you know what, every year I do this and, oh, look at this decoration that reminds me of my daughter and she's coming to visit me for Christmas this year. And really, I think when you're talking to anyone, friends, strangers, family, try to do so with a positive spin. I think so often with events of the world, we can jump to negativity so quickly. And look, one thing I've learned is I've studied a lot of drama classes. I've done a lot of acting. And something that I learned really early on, actually in school, was like this was in improv particularly, is always say yes in a conversation. Because as soon as you say no, there's a blockage. And if you're just starting a conversation with someone and, this is what you shouldn't do. If you're getting asked questions, don't just say yes or no to a question. If the question is, do you like ABBA? And you just say no, that gives the person nothing. And I think you've got to give to receive. If you want to have a good conversation, you're in control of it. So make it good. You might say, yeah, I love it. I was introduced to it with like the Mamma Mia movies, and then I really discovered ABBA. It could be something like that. But if you just say no, but I was brought up listening to the Beach Boys or the Bee Gees instead. There's always something yes and that you can add to a conversation. So as I said, you've got to give to receive and don't always be reliant on the other person. So if you're not feeling the conversation is going well enough, just keep trying for a bit. Don't give up on a conversation straight away. And some people just need to be warmed up a bit. And maybe that's the first conversation you have with them. And then say if you see that same person the week after, you can follow up on that. And I think just being really thoughtful about people and remembering details really is then your conversation starter for the next time that you see each other. And it's really little details that matter. And I think I often think about it like this. You don't really notice a clean room. You go, this looks nice, yeah. But when something's messy, you notice it and it sticks with your mind. It's because we stick to negative thoughts so much quicker and easier than we do positive thoughts. So by being conscious of having positive thoughts and spreading good vibes really is great. Like today at work, we had a conversation about Coldplay because Coldplay's playing in Sydney at the moment. And we had so many interesting conversations come from that, whether it be about best concert experiences people have ever had. And then I ended up bringing up like Summer Heights High because there's been some fantastic memes on Instagram and TikTok about matching the dancing to the Summer Heights High Mr. G teacher doing drama exercises and things. And it's all about listening. A great conversation is about listening to the other person and truly engaging in what they're saying. Now, some other easy go-to conversations. So we've talked about weather, we've talked about sport, we've talked about music. Movies is another good one. Are you watching anything at the moment? Oh yeah, I just finished Emily in Paris and I love the outfits. Gosh, it makes me want to go to Rome and to Paris. Easy. Or someone might be really into action movies or TV shows. And again, that tells you a lot about them. Or, I do a lot of driving and I really like to listen to podcasts, but I'm in need of some recommendations. There you go. There's an into a conversation. Sometimes when you go to events with your friends and you might not know as many people there as your friend does, and it can feel a little bit awkward sometimes being like, oh, everyone's judging me or I look so weird or everything like that. Number one is change your mentality, is because no one is thinking that. Only you. Only you are the one freaking out about how you look. And, I think be confident in who you are. And I think that comes down to finding your personal style and being happy with how you've dressed for that night, because that in itself is an expression of who you are as well. So why not be the best version of yourself and have that 20 seconds of courage, which we've talked about before, and just hover like with your friend or join that group and just listen for a bit to the conversation. And you might have more in common with these people than you realize. There will always be something to learn about and engage with. And if that's not your vibe, move on and find another group. I think it really just takes a lot of courage to walk up to a group and talk to them. And this is something that I think James, my co-host, my brother, does really well. I will go to events together or we'll be hanging out with friends and he'll just full on walk up to a group and start talking to them. He said, well, I walk up to them. Of course they're going to talk to me. And he just starts talking about whatever. And it's like, he commands their attention. Now, I understand that's not for everyone. Personally, I struggle with that a bit more, being a bit more introverted. But I still believe in putting yourself out there. And I think my final tip today comes down to that chairlift chat mentality. And what that means is, we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. It's when you're in a chairlift, you've got all your ski gear on, you've got goggles, you've got a helmet. You, in that moment on a chairlift, can be with a stranger and you can be whoever you want to be. Call yourself your alter ego, give yourself another name, whatever. But bring that mentality into your everyday life. I think there's a lot of freedom when you're on a chairlift about having a conversation with someone and showing so much interest or not in someone and really speaking the truth. Why not do that in your everyday life as well? Why not be the most authentic version of you and say what you really want to say and listen to people and find that there is so much to the world that you don't know and that there's always something to learn? I think is actually something that is really exciting. So I hope that you are feeling inspired and ready for a weekend of chatting to lots of people and learning new things and listening to lots of great things. And in the meantime, make sure that you are subscribed to Chairlift Chats wherever you listen, whether that be watching on YouTube or Spotify, listening on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Make sure that you are subscribed so that you never miss an episode. And also make sure you're following along on our socials. All of our socials are just at Chairlift Chats with 2 S's at the end. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on your favorite conversation starters. But until next time, bye.